Thank you for joining us, everyone, and welcome to introducing Autodesk Build and the Common Data Environment. I am David Campbell. I'm an application specialist for the Topcon Solutions store. And today's focus, of course, will be Autodesk Build as part of the Autodesk Construction Cloud. So a little bit about, the agenda today. We're going to start with a little bit about us. So I'm going to talk about Topcon Solutions, what we do, and kind of how we fit into this space. We're going to discuss some common construction challenges that we see, and then we're going to dive into Autodesk Build and a few key workflows. Now, I do want to go ahead and say that we're not going to have time to dive into everything today. So if you do want to see a deeper dive, or you'd like a full demonstration of what Build is, feel free to, of course, just reach out and we can definitely assist you with that. So Topcon Solutions, we are the retail division to Topcon Positioning Systems. And if you've been to some of our webinars, I'm sure that you've seen this slide about 100 times, but I really like talking about this just because of, well, a few different reasons. One, it helps to kind of show how we fit into this AEC space, because we are a complete solutions provider with not just software like the office software solutions through Autodesk and Bluebeam, but also the hardware, so measuring and controlling hardware systems, but also troubleshooting, service and repair. And then our stores have some of the widest ranges of everyday field supplies and accessories. So kind of going across the board in the AEC industry here. Now, Topcon Solutions by the numbers. We have 13 brick and mortar locations currently, and we have, well, we're located in 20 states, including Washington, DC, and we have about 180 employees right now and growing. So we do kind of have a wide footprint in where and what we support. So again, I am David Campbell. And what we're going to start with today is a small discussion of the challenges that we see in construction today. Now, as you read through these, I'm sure that no one on here is surprised to see anything, on this list. So typically we'll see that a lot of these projects are having razor thin margins. Of course, we have tight schedules, labor shortages, distributed teams, so everybody's kind of separated, which causes, of course, that siloed information and can leave a lot of uncertainty within our projects or within, who takes what when. Now, and again, I'm sure none of you are really surprised to see this. A lot of these have been known for a while as common kind of issues within construction. Now, overcoming these challenges, when we start looking at increasing collaboration, let's just even start there. Increased collaboration is going to improve your typical coordination, right? And working in these models or on these projects. Now, one big thing we're going to focus on today, of course, was Autodesk Build, but how it's a part of a common data environment. And that kind of goes into this next tile here of that single source of truth. If everyone is looking for that data in one centralized environment, it makes it easier to get that data, but also, again, kind of gives everyone, all the project stakeholders, right, the ease of use and the, I want to say, the access to the data that they need when they need it. Now, getting into that one as well, we could have a connected 2D and 3D experience. So the interesting thing here is that, of course, not everybody is in this 3D environment, right? Excuse me, not everybody needs 3D data. That's where we can store these 2D CAD links or these 3D, civil 3D files with surfaces and piping networks, or, the Revit models, the Navisworks, the advanced steel, whatever it is. We can start bringing all of these different types of data, whether they are 2D or 3D, together to connect those workflows and really increase that collaboration. Now, again, with being able to collaborate and coordinate, that comes with improved data accuracy, right? Making sure these models are aligned together, making sure that if we do our layout points, anything like that, that they are properly aligned within that model. And one of my favorites here, standardization. Standardization is really huge and key when we look at, implementing any software or even hardware. the way that we do things, the workflows that we see, the file locations, the naming conventions, different things like that. It's all a part of that standardization that really goes to help improve, again, user experience, but also the ease of use in itself. And then for our last one there, we got the digitization. So we're seeing a lot of this today in terms of, digitizing PDFs or digitizing these models. So we can really, again, give all of the different stakeholders involved in this project complete visibility into that data whenever they need it. All right, so, well, clicked back there. There we go. So with this slide, and I'm going to go ahead and jump into my presentation. I'm not going to do death by PowerPoint, but with connected teams mean connected workflows, and that really ties into connected data. So let's go ahead and get into this. Here we go. So Autodesk Build. I've had a lot of people ask me, what is the difference between something like Autodesk Build and BIM 360 Build? Well, what we're going to see is that instead of being broken out, and this is kind of on a base level here, instead of being broken out into two different modules, it used to be, project management and field management, and then we'd have cost. Now you're just going to see build, and then we also have that cost module right there as well. Okay, so you'll see that in the ACC here, the Autodesk Construction Cloud, or the unified platform. I'll start out in the home here, and I kind of want to talk about a little bit more of what build is and how it ties together with the actual common data environment. But as an introduction, again, the differences there is that they've actually unified a lot of that data previously separated within BIM 360 to what is now Autodesk Build. On top of that, they've brought over the capability to tie this all together. So you're going to see in my module selector here, I still have docs, I still have design collaboration, model coordination, takeoff, build, cost, insight. I still have a lot of access to the other workflows that are needed to complete or at least enhance what we're doing within this project. Okay, so Autodesk Build, what you'll notice about kind of moving past BIM 360, one big thing is the interface. So Build, as you can see here in the unified platform, is kind of all white and gray. Okay, that's one thing that you're going to notice that's going to be a difference. BIM 360 actually has a darkened banner up top, it's like dark blue. And you'll also notice that there are less picks and clicks actually through Autodesk Build than there were with BIM 360. In saying that, I have my home, sheets, files, issues, forms. You'll see that these are all essentially panels or buttons that I can click on the side here, even with my settings and my members. Typically, with BIM 360, we'd have to look for the project admin to be able to go and get into the settings to adjust what we're doing with, let's say, build in this instance, or any of our other different modules. So they've kind of made it a little bit easier to navigate around, which of course that's a big push for anyone who uses this software is a good user experience, right? That ease of use. So another kind of key giveaway that you'll notice, I'm going to drop down my project here, but any ACC project, any unified platform project, is going to have the globe symbol right here. Whereas the BIM 360 projects, what you'll notice is that they're going to have the B. Okay, so they have the B right there. So those are two big differences, well, kind of three with the buttons over here, differences that you're going to notice kind of switching over from BIM 360 to getting into Autodesk Build. Now, for any of my new users or anyone familiar with this, Build was kind of brought together, what they really did was they brought the good of BIM 360, and they also brought over some good from PlanGrid. So, I start saying the unified platform and talking about how we're enabling these workflows, ease of use, user interface, things like that. Well, I'm going to talk about a few different features today that are really bettered by that integration, and we'll see how this unification of these different platforms such as BIM 360 and PlanGrid in this sense benefit the users for this I don't know, how do I want to say this? Well, it's from the common data environment, but it's really connecting and I guess unifying. I know I keep saying that unification, but they keep unifying everyone together with these different workflows in terms of if something changes, and we're going to go deeper into this here in a second, but everything is connected. If one thing changes, another thing updates. And that's really where I feel like we want to be, especially when we get into this conversation about the common data environment. So starting off, I'll get into the home here. Home is really like a dashboard for Build. So you're going to see, welcome, here's what's happening on your project today. If you input your project location, you will see some of the site weather in terms of what the high is, what the low is. Are you detecting any rain potentially today? You'll also see your project's progress. So right down here, I can actually show and add milestones for my project here. So I've target completion date of June 1st, 2023. You can see that we had a concrete pour that was already done back in April 2nd, 2021. So I'm guessing that they poured most of the foundation there and at least got that started for us. And we're developing a lot of the drawings that are kind of coming after that, the construction documents that are coming after that. Now, again, we can go ahead and create new milestones here and add them to our list. Further kind of tracking out our project and what's happening with it. Now, if I scroll down, you're also going to notice that I have access to quick links. And quick links gives me the capability to jump right into my sheets. So I'll go more into detail in the sheets here in a second, but gives me the capability to navigate right into it or even to my members. So this is a nice one. Again, remember back with BIM 360, we had to go to the project admin and we have to bring people into the project and then kind of give them access from there. With Build, I could just click right on the members. You'll notice it takes me right down here and I can go ahead and add new members right there. So it's very nice, very easy, and again, kind of quick to change over. So the next thing you'll notice is that we have our work statuses and then our project assigned work. Now, this, of course, it can be adjustable based off of your role or your needs in the project. So with this project assigned work, I'm a project admin, so I can see everything that's going on within this project, how many submittals we have, our RFIs, ongoing issues, if we have any overdue submittals, RFIs, things like that. And then what has specifically been assigned to me. So I have my assigned work here, and we'll get more into this when we get into some of these issues, the RFIs and submittals here in a minute. But you can kind of track and see exactly what's going on with any one of these elements here and click right on it and it's going to take us to it. Now, I don't want to do that just yet because, of course, I also want to talk about this mobile sync status. This is an awesome addition that we're seeing, to Autodesk Build, but from BIM 360 in the sense of that plan grid unification. What you're seeing is that we have that plan grid build mobile app right now. And I was actually just on it this morning, creating some forms, taking some pictures, things like that. But what it gives you is the capability to download and essentially synchronize to this project. If any new documents, if any new updates have been made with the models or any new RFIs, things like that, we can go ahead and synchronize this to our mobile device. And then, we know here, based on this sync status, how many of our members within this project are actually up to date with their document set, which is very important for any admin really to know. But I mean, in general, any person within this project, I think that's very important information to know how many, or I guess what percentage of their stakeholders have actually updated information or updated data sets. Now, the other thing I did want to talk about was this recent activity, just because, like I said, I've been on here a little bit. You'll see that we've added some new photos. We've created some issues. Some issues were assigned to me here. We can create or essentially attach these photos right in here. So we can click throughout any one of these and essentially get data to kind of, well, it's a quick access, right? But the thing I like about this is you can start filtering down this activity to see just information with sheets, issues, photos. If someone mentioned you specifically, or if you're looking for submittals, I can go ahead, click on submittals. I don't have anything there, so I can click on sheets and see what's going on there. We see some new sheets were published, a version set, Arch 100% CD. So we can kind of, again, get an idea of what's been going on within our project. So I mentioned Sheets earlier. Now, again, we can access it right here through quick links or just click right on Sheets. And what you'll notice with Sheets when this gets done spinning here is that essentially when we add our data in, it's going to populate here. And I'm going to change these over from the list to thumbnails so I can see a little bit more data here. And I'm just doing that right over here on the side. We can kind of control what we're looking at here. What I wanted to point out is when we upload these sheets, notice how they come in with the sheet number, the sheet name. We can also include them to what's called a set. So in this sense, my 30% CD Rev 1. And if I wanted to, let's say, filter and I wanted to search for my Arch 100%. So I can find that. And here we go. Here are all my Arch 100% sets. So I could scroll down through here. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about before diving into any of these sheets and some of the functionality that we're going to see is you'll notice that we also have these little symbols down here on the bottom of each one of our sheets. And these just let you know if they have any personal or published. So you're going to see on this one, it has a personal markup and it has a published markup. So there's a difference between the two there in the sense of, I'm going to go ahead and click in this here, a difference kind of in between the two types of markups, but it shows you kind of what's on this sheet. So here we have the markup here. It's a measurement. So they've taken the square footage out of this office and calibrated, of course, this document to get that number. Now, again, it kind of tells us exactly what's going on with the sheet. So we see we have an active issue here. And I'm gonna try to move this down. There we go. And get back into my sheets. So again, it's kind of just telling you what's going on with that document. So if you know that, you've just uploaded these or you're just kind of watching them, and you could see if you have other markups on it, let's say from other individuals or from yourself. So adding sheets. This is a very cool feature as it actually, again, uses some of that plan grid functionality. So what you're going to see is that Autodesk actually brought over the sheet uploader, the document uploader from PlanGrid into Autodesk Build. So it's going to run that OCR or optical character recognition on those documents. And essentially it's going to, after I pull these documents in here, you're going to see that it's going to ask us for the version set. So that 100%, 60%, whatever it is, the sheet numbers and the titles and tags. So for many of you, if any of you are PlanGrid users or you used some of the former BIM 360 tools with like the title block, that's kind of what you're doing, right? But at the same time, the Sheets engine for Build here is looking over those documents, and it's going to give us the capability to pull those quick tag areas or those page regions, right, where they have that pertinent information that we want to really pull to associate and see with these documents here. Okay. Now, another cool thing that before I do go on, I wanted to mention this one here. Actually, let me make sure that I get into, there we go, get into this document here. The other thing I wanted to mention before moving on is that if we wanted to place any type of markups or anything like that in these documents, notice that it all pops up right here for us. We can highlight, place our shapes, text boxes, many different markups, including issues, attaching pictures, calibrating to take those measurements. It's all going to be right here inside of these the sheets. Okay. Now, I did not talk about the versioning of these. Now you'll notice if I go back here, each one of these talks about, or essentially shows that they have different versions. So these documents inside of Sheets are also version controlled. For many of you who are familiar with the BIM 360 workflow, that's pretty normal in the sense of when you upload that, as long as they carry that same naming convention, they will update to that newer version. Now, switching back, kind of pulling back a little bit, but going back to what we were talking about originally with the common data environment, right? So how does Build tie into really everything else? Well, in this sense, when I click on Files, what you'll notice is that essentially it takes me right back to what's called Docs, which was formerly document management within BIM 360. Now, in here, we're going to have our project files and our for the field. So project files, a lot of times, these are the working documents, the working files, or the coordination models, things like that. But this is where we're going to be able to store and find all of that information. So this is essentially like our common data environment, right? That drive that we go to, we find all the information based on what permissions or what access that you have to these different folders, essentially giving you the capability to either open and view them if you need it in the design application, or if you don't need in the design application, if you just want to use it through this HTML web browser, we can go ahead and get into any one of these models. And again, you're going to see the capability to go ahead and create issues here. So if I wanted to create a design or work to complete, if I wanted to track something, maybe the curtain wall windows going in, something like that. If I notice a building code violation, anything like that, I can go ahead, grab this and place it right on any one of these models, and essentially just detail out what the issue. I hit escape there, so I didn't place that one, but essentially detailing out the information that's going to go into these models. Now, the interesting thing here, I know I keep saying interesting because there's several features that are very, very cool to me, and it's obviously just one of my favorite words today, but one of the really cool features that we're going to see also from this common data environment, and I'm going to go into issues deeper here in a second, but if we actually place issues within this model here, this is a working central model, or a working model for someone down the line, in the sense of the architect here working in Revit. Now, if I did notice that there's an issue in here, maybe one of the chairs and tables isn't right, or the door isn't swinging right, or anything like that, I can go ahead and place this issue. I'm just going to say maybe my scuppers need to be lowered. So let's do that one. I'm going to do building code, description, scupper. Let's do 1 foot. Okay. Now, in this sense, what I'm doing with this issue is taking the markup itself like a level up, essentially, because I can go ahead and essentially start adding information in with this intelligent markup, or this issue in this case, as far as what kind of issue it is. And this is a design issue and it's a building code. But I can also go ahead and assign this to anyone that I need. So if I know this is going to go to myself, maybe I just need to detail this out. I've noticed this is, off, and I need to just adjust it. But in this sense, the assign to is a very important feature, in the sense of it notifies anyone involved in this project that they have, responsibility to look at this issue. Now, this is also going to tie into, maybe we don't want to assign it to an individual person. Maybe I want to assign this to an entire company. So you'll notice I can scroll down, find Topcon Solutions Inc. or my Topcon Solutions stores, and then it'll assign it to everyone in that company. So another big thing about this, though, I'm going to go ahead, due date. Maybe I'm going to say this is next Friday. Start date is today. The cool thing about this is that, again, we can start tying more and more data and adding more parameters into this. Now, one is a reference, right? We can add a reference to our photos, files, RFIs, or even assets, okay? But the other big thing that you're gonna notice, and Autodesk just announced this a couple days ago, but the issues within the unified platform here are now connected to the design programs. So just like with BIM 360 and BIM 360 issues in Revit, Navisworks, Civil 3D, AutoCAD, you're going to see the integration there with Revit and Navisworks for these issues. So what we can do is literally place someone doesn't need the design application to come in and review this and say, okay, this needs to be changed, this is off, or what's going on here? Maybe this piece of steel that's just floating out here that doesn't have anything to it. Just different things like that. But it's going to tie right back into the design application itself. So the modeler will see this issue come up from the Issues tab within Revit or within Navisworks, and it'll take them to exactly where this issue is located. Now, again, big thing about this is that we can really dive more into these issues, but it gives us the capability to track that, to physically see something in the model, and that allows the designer to actually go right into that model, right where that issue is, and then they make the correction. At that point, I could go ahead and either delete it, which I wouldn't delete it, I would actually leave it, and then say what I would do with this is go ahead and I'd close it. So I actually probably need to go over to my issues, which, you know what, is going to take me right into my next portion of this. But before I go into that, I did also want to talk about this one, just because I kind of said it earlier. It will host not just 3D files, but 2D PDFs, or if you have any DWGs, if you have any point clouds, so laser scans, you can also host that information up. There's a lot of different types of information that we can post within this unified environment, this common data environment. Okay, so moving up to issues. As you saw, I could go ahead and add issues into those models, into the PDFs, into 2D drawings, 3D drawings. It does not matter. We can create these issues and assign them out as needed. Now, in this sense, where I'm in issues here, this gives me a way to track it, and not just track it, but really modify if it does go from open to closed, or if it is overdue, we may be able to send someone a reminder. But also, maybe I want to go ahead and export some of these out as a like a log or something like that. I'll go through that process here in a second. But essentially, you'll see, such as my building code issue here, I can go ahead and export this issue out, or you'll see right here under status, I can go ahead and click pending, in review, or closed. So I can go ahead and again kind of relieve that issue, and essentially when I close it out, it's going to go just like this one here where it says closed. It is tracking it still though, because we don't really want to lose that data. Now, if I come down and let's say I grab a bunch of these, or you know what, let's just filter this. Let's go by design. So we just want to see our design issues, and we just want to see the ones that are open. We don't want to see any pending or in review. In this case, I can go ahead, grab all of my design issues and export them out either into a detailed report or a summary report. So full detail, it's actually breaking them down, giving you a lot of pictures and a lot of information with these different issues, or a summary report where it's, of course, just like that, but summarized. And then we can kick that out in PDF or XLSX format. So you can kick that out to Excel or in PDF. Okay. Now, again, these issues are great. They tie right into the design application. And again, we can go ahead and track a lot of these. Now, if you ever want to adjust these, this is something that I didn't really go into with sheets and files. I probably should have went into a little bit more, but you'll notice the settings for the individual pieces. So for issues, files, sheets, the settings are actually going to be located right over here. And this is where we can get in and adjust the kind of parameters of that specific instance. So in issues here, the types of issues, do we want any custom fields, our permissions for issues, the root causes. We can go ahead and start adjusting the data for those issues and adjusting how we're seeing and what we're seeing, essentially. Now, again, I don't have too much time to dive into all of these, so I did want to, kind of dive into forms, photos. I'll get into the RFIs, submittals, but I wanted to make sure that I'm going to touch on a little bit of each one of these here for the last 15 minutes or so, and make sure that I leave plenty of time for questions. Now, another portion of this common data environment and kind of unifying everything together, another cool workflow that we're going to see are the forms. Now, these are going to be coming over from, at least some of them are coming over from PlanGrid, and then you'll see the capability to create these either by template. So we have some templates as daily reports, daily safety inspections, our job hazard analysis, or timesheets. So if I wanted to, I could go ahead and hit create form, and I could choose any one of these to go ahead and fill out. Now, I did fill out a couple of them this morning, and you can see that some of my daily inspections and timesheets, I was making a lot of drafts trying to get these things ready, but essentially you can publish it out, or you can save it as a draft. And really, this was actually done on my mobile device. So as I was kind of talking about earlier, we do have the capability to create these forms, or at least utilize your forms from your templates on your mobile device and fill these out. So in this case, my daily safety inspection, I can download a PDF of this. I can archive it. I can export that out, anything like that. Now, let me get back here just for a second. I wanted to show the kind of creation capability here. If I needed to create, let's say, that daily report, it's going to go ahead and pull this up as a draft. So at this point, I can add work, I can add my materials, add my equipment, and notice that it's going to ask for a signature as well. So this is actually a pretty cool workflow on the mobile device as well, because I could just find the signature block, put my finger on that, and then go ahead and essentially send that up. So again, we can export these forms individually. You can archive them, or you can click a bunch of them to actually go ahead and send out. So again, if I click over on templates, though, this is where we can actually create those templates or edit some of the templates that we have already. So they make it pretty easy to be able to, again, create these forms, but connect this data from not just the HTML web browser here, but also to that mobile web browser or mobile application. Now, photos. This is another awesome feature that I'm going to talk about. As you guys could see earlier, I was taking a few of these and adding them here and there. These photos can be, pictures from the site. They could be attached to the markups or, of the PDFs themselves. You could actually, another kind of cool thing I wanted to talk about is taking the images. Let's say if you're running clash detection and model coordination, you could take these images, and they do post them as photos here, but you can take these images and attach them to some of those issues that we were talking about earlier as a reference. So if I do have a clash detection issue, something like this one here, I can see that my structure is going right through that wall. So I can go ahead and tag that and essentially add this as a reference to an issue. So right here, it's already attached to this one. So if I click on that, you'll notice that it takes me right into that issues within Autodesk Build, and actually takes me right to the issue itself. So I can see exactly what's going on with this issue and who it was assigned to, which this one unfortunately wasn't assigned to anyone yet. So let's actually add Joey onto that one. And we'll give Joey the responsibility for that issue there. But you'll notice again, it's kind of connecting all of these together with the photos, with issues, utilizing these as references. But another cool feature is if I click on this one here, you'll notice that some photos actually come with a map. So if you have the location, the latitude and longitude of where you took this photo, I can go right into my map. Now you're going to see gallery or map here. So if I click on map, it's going to take me right to where that picture was taken. So it knows the exact location. This was my former house in Oregon. So right off McCormick Drive, we can see exactly where that picture was. So I thought that was pretty neat, especially on some of these other big jobs as you're going around it, especially if you're doing any QA, QC or your punch walk, right? And you're taking some different pictures, you can actually tag them as a kind of a location of where they are in that building. Very, very cool workflow. Now the RFIs and the submittals, these are also, I believe, brought over. The RFIs were brought over from a little bit of BIM 360, a little plan grid. But in this sense, if we get into, let's say my site signage, this one is closed. Essentially, you get in and you have a lot of form information to fill out if you choose to, in the sense of your question. So in this one, when will the site signage be ordered and when will it be on site? This was my suggested answer. But what's nice about this is you'll notice it gives a ball and court, and then it gives a co-reviewer. So in this sense, the way that I think about it is when you create this RFI in this instance, who has the responsibility to take care of this? When do you want to see this taken care of by? And then the location of the actual instance you're asking about. So here I'm saying gate 2. Again, you'll notice that we have references, and we can add references to files, to sheets, or there's the photo. So if we take a photo right there on site, or the other portion of build, which unfortunately we can't get too far into today, but that potential change order. So we can tie all of this together from this RFI. Now, again, if I go into create RFI, this is how we can get in it. You notice it automatically generates that RFI number for us. Here's our title, the ball in court, so we can select any of the members there and just go through. And what I really like about this as well is that you can start breaking it down if you know that this is going to have a potential cost impact or schedule impact, the priority, of course, the discipline category, and then if you want anyone to watch it. So you want somebody to kind of just sit back and pay attention to this RFI, make sure that it moves, or if it's not moving, be able to reach out and ask someone, hey, what's holding this up? Can we get this answer? Another one that you'll see, I did want to go into these settings just for a minute with permissions and RFI workflow. To set up this RFI workflow, you can actually utilize like a approval kind of process in the sense of where either we do the default with a creator, manager, and reviewer, or you have an additional reviewer. So your creator, manager, the reviewer 1 or reviewer 2, okay? With permissions, this is where you can actually specify who can create the different RFIs, who wants to manage it, who's going to be a reviewer. This is where you can go and build that out and essentially give yourself that drop-down list of different members to select for this. The submittals, much of the same. What you're going to see is that we have the capability to, just like with the RFIs, add a review process, so we can do that as well. As far as permissions, we have some different responses that we have that we can kind of pre-coordinate there. But with my submittal, first submittal here, essentially, you can see the timeline of, just like with the RFIs, of where it is in that approval process, the general information for this, the spec section, if you have a spec subsection, the type of data that you're uploading here, if you have any attachments, if you want to go ahead and plan or track what's going on with this submittal, when it was received, when it's due date, the required approval date, things like that, we can go ahead and essentially assign and track this entire submittal out. Go back to one of my other ones here. Now, these are the individual submittal items. You'll also notice that we have our spec packages. So you'll notice here that I have a stone tile package set up, so I'll get into this. And this is where we can actually include individual elements or individual items under that submittal package. So for our tile work here, I have some resilient tile. I know it's going to be 1.8-A, and again, I can go in and modify that as much as I need to. Now, here's where I can get into my individual spec sections. If I wanted to create a spec section and add it in, I can do that very easily here. If I wanted to look at my bollards and their spec section, any of the information you're going to see, it's going to ask your spec title and your number there. All right, so gosh, I wish I had more time with you guys, but just for a couple more minutes. Another thing that I really like about having this connected kind of platform, this unified platform, you'll notice meetings down here as well. I really like this because if, let's say, you have a coordination meeting, you have a toolbox talk, a safety meeting, anything like that, you can go ahead and create that meeting right here within Build. You'll notice that you can attach, if you're going to use Microsoft Teams or if you're going to use Zoom, you can get into Teams, copy and paste that meeting link, place it right there, specify your time, your location, your description. You can actually add in your discussion, so your notes. If this is going to be a safety, meeting, we could have our we could have our different toolbox talks, our safety talk, expectations for PPE on the site, things of that nature, and then add the invitees. Now, if I go back to my meeting list, I'm going to jump into one that I have. This one has been tracked as minutes, so this already happened. But you'll notice that you can use it as an agenda or, again, track it as minutes. And in this sense, we have our different discussions, so our proper PPE. I can set this as, is this an ongoing conversation or discussion, or is this closed? So safety precautions, site safety, PPE, those are probably going to be for every safety meeting, so those are always ongoing. Now, the break locations here in terms of where the smoking areas and the non-smoking areas, That's something we probably don't have to go over every single safety meeting, so we can go ahead and close that out. But this is another important piece here. You're going to see that Joey, Kurt, and Blake were all invited. Now, I know that Joe and Blake attended. So in this sense, I could sign Kurt up for the next meeting that I know needs to happen, or reach out and say, hey, you know, what was going on? I noticed you didn't make it to our toolbox this morning in Safety Trailer 4. Were you running late, or can we get you into the next one? What's going on? Okay, so it kind of, again, connects everybody together in terms of who's involved in your project right here in Autodesk Build, but kind of, again, brings everybody together and gives you that capability to well, use one source of truth for this information, whether it's scheduling your coordination meetings and talking about the different coordination issues or expectations, things like that. It can really help to bring everything together. All right, so again, I wish I had more time with you guys, but we're getting down to about 15 minutes. And if you wanted to, I guess, reach out for any other questions, I'm gonna have a question slide here in a second. Go ahead and type those up. Or if you're looking for a deeper dive into this, a full demonstration of Build and maybe cost, of course, feel free to reach out. Now, before I go, I wanted to talk about what all comes with Build and again, kind of what is involved with that. Now, you're gonna notice that I had docs and things like that activated. What comes with Build? When you buy or purchase Autodesk Build, you are going to get Autodesk docs. You're going to get the access to models, your drawings, issues, the specifications, RFIs, your cost, assets, as-builts, your photos and your videos through Build and Docs. You're also going to get access into Insight with your dashboards, reports, Construction IQ, and your data connector, so that Autodesk Desktop connector, and administration rights, so that user management and your project administration. Now, I wanted to talk about this one because we kind of went through a few different things, and I wanted to kind of bring it all together in terms of where your capabilities and your workflows lie, and essentially how we can use the different pieces here to excel our project. So in document management, or docs, right? Your workflows are document control. You have your document versioning and approvals. We're gonna have our cost management for that budget creation, administration. We're gonna have the RFIs, submittals, your meeting minutes and daily reports that are kind of pushing that project management for us. With quality, we're gonna have that quality planning, QA, QC. We have our punch listing and issue management. We're also going to give the capability to plan our safety, let's say meetings or trainings, write down any safety observations or take notes of any safety inspections, fill out those safety inspection forms. And then for our closeout, we have our commissioning turnover documentation, warranty management, you know, our final completion and the as-built surveys. So in terms of what Build does and how this all kind of comes together is that it, again, is unifying that data from your models, the drawings, the documents, your individual cost items, the assets that you're tracking, the photos, the videos, and they're bringing it all together into one common data environment or one single source of truth, okay? And essentially allowing anyone who needs access through establishing permissions, you know, those folders, things like that, instant access and visualization into that project. All right, do we have any questions?
Okay, David, well, at this time, it appears that we do not have any questions.
All right, well, thank you all again from the Topcon Solutions store. If you would like to reach out, if you want to get some more information or again, hoping to get a further deep dive demonstration into Autodesk Build, feel free to reach out. We have our website as well as our email there. I'm sorry, our phone number. And then of course, look out for this video on YouTube or our topconsolutions.com.